Kickturn Party tonight! Kickturn Party tonight! Kickturn Party tonight! Kickturn Party tonight! We're gonna have a Kickturn Party tonight! Alright!
Hey, welcome back to Kickturn Party. This episode, we've got our good friend Rhett Taylor, and we're going to talk a little bit about the indoor skate park we used to have here in Knoxville.
Slash skate shop.
Slash skate shop. Before Pluto existed, we had SK8 HUT, SK8, because SK8 was cool. We had SK8 HUT, and Rhett was this was my first employee, and this was my second employee.
All I did was sweep the floors and clean the refrigerator.
Yeah, I left him to do the really bad stuff, and he's got it warped him. It really warped his whole personality. He wouldn't be the screwed up individual he is today without our help.
That's true.
So we're going to let him tell a few stories about why he's such a screwed up guy because of working at the skate park.
And if you haven't noticed, we're back in the real polished studio.
That's right.
Post-COVID, back in the real studio. We got Bunny behind the wall over there at the controls.
That's right.
And we got a green screen. Everything's back to
We're not in the basement anymore.
normal. We're not in the basement, and we're not on fucking Zoom anymore.
That's right. That's right. We're live coming at you 3 weeks later.
3 months.
So anyways, let's start off just to get things rolling with a little video of an after-hours session we had
At the old skate hut.
At the old skate hut. Now, skate hut was a abandoned fruit warehouse
on Grand Avenue in Fort Sanders at the tail end of the produce market,
Yeah.
which was actually a cool little skate scene, when they weren't working.
Yeah.
But it was, now it's a school bus parking lot.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
The actual skate hut warehouse is an appliance store, like used appliances.
Wow.
And I went in there, actually dropped off a refrigerator there, just gave it to them, and told them that it used to be an indoor skate park, and they were like,
What does that mean?
and so where the pro shop and the office was, you can see where they tore it down because the marks are still on the concrete. And I'm like, yeah, this was our pro shop. We had a half pipe right here. And the guy was like, what the hell's a half pipe?
And we had a rat that lived in a cage.
Yeah, rat stink, yeah.
So we're gonna take a quick trip down memory lane. We used to have after-hours sessions there occasionally, and this is one of the a little video from one of the after-hours sessions. So if you can cue that up, there we go.
Skate hut. That was it was before we moved out west.
Yeah. This was very into Skate Hut. And there's Brian Beauchesne. He was the owner of Skate Hut.
Still is. It's just called something else.
It's called Pluto now. And there's the wall ride we had in the back, and that dragon that Kevin nicely painted.
Jay.
There's me.
There's your host, Jay, wearing his Limpy skate rags swag that
and
he
my
was
beret.
wearing.
Back when
And
you
his
could get
beret.
away with wearing a beret.
And
Yeah.
wearing my beret.
Man, look at that. Jay did a rock and roll.
I just did a hurricane. That was a hurricane.
Wasn't Jay working part-time at a 5 and 9?
Yep, I had a little pink house too. And there's Ryan Wilbur.
Yep, that was Ryan.
Ex-pro. There's our guest today.
There's Rhett.
Rhett.
Me, that's me.
Yep. Ripping it up.
There's Ryan, the Panther.
The Panther, who went on to become pro for, I don't know, a couple of different companies.
Yeah,
there for a
he
little while.
he actually got one of those independent built to grind ads on the second to last page of Thrasher.
Yeah,
That was that's a big thing to have as a pro.
Yeah.
There's Brian again.
there's Brian again. So it was a fun little indoor warehouse. It was very tight, and this was like when mini ramps first kind of started. So we would fill up that place, and Chad Elliott.
Yeah, there's Chad.
We would fill that place up with kids. There was a lot of weirdness that went on there. Guar came by one time, and they brought a bunch of their foam prosthetics
Guar.
that we were able to play with after the show. That was pretty cool. Blaze Bluen came and did a demo. Mike Vallely came and did a demo. We had a bunch of different people come
All
down.
kinds of fun stuff there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
For as short of amount of time that it was there, before it moved, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was what, 2 years, I think?
At that location, I don't
Yeah.
even know if it was out there.
Yeah, it was. I think it was just barely 2 years.
because it moved in '90. That was when Pluto
Right,
started.
right. And I think
that opened as early as '88. I don't think it opened until '89.
You may be right, but I know we were there at least.
There's
2
Red
winters.
again.
Yeah. Ollie, look at that.
Ollie out of the
Yeah.
coping.
Yeah,
Back when Rhett could skate, he
So-
didn't,
so-
he didn't push down the greenway.
yeah. So, Rhett, I know you have fond memories of this place. I know.
Tell us a little about
Yeah.
what it was like working at the skate hut
Well,
with
you
your
know,
local idiot kid and his mom.
I just turned 18. It's my freshman year in college. I just got my own apartment, and then I got a job offer to work at the freaking skate shop with a park. Like, how much better could that be? And I just thought, I've self-actualized.
These guys like me.
Yeah, these guys like me. They're gonna pay me to hang out at the skate shop where I would be anyway. You know, I remember just how awesome it was waiting for UPS to come. I would leave class early because I knew a shipment was coming from Cal Skates or NHS, and just
With the latest Metallica board
yeah,
from Zorlak.
well, that's a whole nother story. But you know, NHS, the Santa Cruz stuff, you'd open that up with the razor blade, and nothing smelled like a shipment of Santa Cruz skateboards.
Nice, yeah.
And just that was so awesome for like a month.
And then reality set in.
Yeah. And then you also had to answer the phone and put up with the kids, but the phone would ring. It's like, hey, y'all got a Mike Mullally pal? It's like, no, we don't carry pal stuff. Well, y'all got a Tony Hawk? No, we don't have pal decks. Well, y'all got any of them T-bone wheels? No, we don't carry any pal products at all. So, and it's like, and then, it would be like a couple weeks later, y'all got the SMA World Industries Vallely. We don't have any of that, but what I could offer them was a Zorlak Gargoyle, giant penis-shaped board. We had 20 of those things. So
we got the latest Metallica graphic.
Right.
Still have those to be able to retire.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Well, what's funny is that one
$500 now.
Metallica board made it from Skate Hut to Pluto and was on the rack at Pluto for 3 or 4 years.
Exactly.
Until some metalhead came in there and was like, damn, I didn't know.
So, here coming up a little bit, Brian is riding a Schmidt stick foam core.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
he breaks it here in a little while. But so, Rhett, I know you've got a lot of really good stories. And you reminded me one the other day about the time that we used to rent out on Saturday afternoons or Saturday mornings. You could have your birthday at Skate Hut. And you had a problem with, we had a mouse, our official mascot. Rat Stink, that lived in his. He had a little half pipe in his little cage, and he lived in his little cage, and he would get out occasionally. And you had a little incident with him at one point.
Yeah. We had lots of mice, and most of the time we'd set those live traps and forget about them. So we'd find the dead mice rotting in the traps. But for Rat Stink, we actually found him and put him in the aquarium with a mesh top on it, and then found him a girlfriend. So we had 2 mice in there, and eventually one of them chewed their way out. We didn't worry too much about it. And as you probably remember, Jay, we had the nasty rental pads that were always steamy and hot, and we'd spray them with some antiseptic and call it done. And you probably also remember some of our customer base were the fancy West Knox moms who had their silky running suits and their very fancy kids.
Well, it was the early '90s.
It was. And then I remember one time some woman came in and she'd rented the place out, and they didn't have their safety equipment. So hey, the birthday boy, you get your choice of the rental helmets. Well, the mom says, they're all sweaty and they stink. Oh, they're all right. We sanitize them. They're all good. So she reluctantly goes along with that. So remember now, we were missing a mouse that was the girlfriend of our original mouse, Rat Stink. So I reach in, proudly hand her the helmet on the top and say, here you go. She recoils in horror. I look in there, and there are at least 6 brand new
Little
Yeah,
pink jelly beans.
glistening pink mice. She's horrified and says, oh no, those are our pets. You can see we have one right here. His name's Rat Stink. His wife just moved out. She escaped. I guess that she probably just had him here. So I'm gonna just drop them back here into Rat Stink's cage. So I drop the baby mice back in there, and then her horror turns to further revulsion as Rat Stink goes and grabs one of those fetal mice and just starts eating it. So in the name of good customer service, I just gave the birthday boy a brand new helmet and said, this is our new rental, and he's the first one to use it.
because that's how we rolled at Skate Hut. I mean, like you said, we were able to adjust to customer service. I remember one day a kid, smashed his head. I remember a couple of good incidents. One, a kid slapped his head. A kid comes walking into the pro shop and said, "My buddy's out there and he ain't waking up." And so I went out there and he was laying on the ground, pretty much not breathing. I tried to stick my finger in his mouth to move his tongue, and that wasn't working. His mouth was so I rolled him over in his side and he started snoring, and he came to life like couple of minutes later. And I had to call his mom and say, "You need to come get your kid." And the kid was actually wearing a helmet because we made everybody wear helmets. And it was not cool. And then another time a kid came in and he goes, "I think I broke my arm." He put it up on his board and it was kind of shaped like an S. And it was like, "Yeah, I think we need to call the hospital." So
Good times. Remember Barge and Scope?
Oh, yeah.
barge.
These two guys that would barge in, scope the place out, split. So we called them Barge and Scope.
Do you remember?
Literally push the door open, look around, and then leave. And we had amber shades. Like we had names for everybody. Amber shades.
The best part.
Remember Elvis?
Yes.
The best
The
part was
kid with greasy hair. He wound up in jail for murder.
Yeah.
and he did wear blue suede Vision Streetwear shoes.
That's exactly right.
The best part, though, was when the rest of us weren't there, we could look at the daily log. I remember coming in one Saturday
I wish we still
morning,
had that.
and Trey McReynolds had left. Kid falls off board, hits mouth on curb, knocks out tooth, gets up, says, "Look, ma'am," and then with Scotch tape on the daily log was that tooth, and it said "piece of tooth with an arrow." The tooth was still there.
The daily log was amazing, man.
I forgot all about that.
It was like
That's awesome.
cash in the drawer was like the first line. Then it was like what the sales were, the payouts and everything at the bottom, and Brian's balance at the bottom. That was fantastic.
So you remember the
I forgot about the daily log.
remember the dirt people that lived down the street and used to come and hang out. And there was this one kid. He would just come and hang out. He was like 13 or 14. He was a little below the curve, let's say. And he would hang out with his dog and sit. I would look out the window and he'd be sitting on the rollout deck with the dog on his lap, kind of wiggling a little bit. It was like, what's going on there? And he would finally leave. I
haven't even thought of that. 30 years.
No nudity or anything, but it was just like, why is that simple kid up there with his dog in his lap, kind of being weird?
There are things about
and
skating
we finally had to tell the dirt people, you can't come in here anymore. And they live like 3 blocks down the street. And the reason we called them the dirt people was because there was a house with a lawn, and a house with a lawn, and a house that was dirt, and then there was a house with a lawn and a house with a lawn. And I don't know what they did. They dug up the front yard and just made it dust. I don't know what was going on. There.
It's just amazing how we got away. I mean, I guess it was back in the early 90s with the way we treated children.
Late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah. Kids their parents would just leave them there at the Grand Avenue Fruit Market. And it would be dark, and then they would run out of money. Like, hey, you rented 3 hours of time. We're open for another hour. You can't hang out in the pro shop and annoy me. They're like, well, what can I do? It's like, if you go out there in the alley and come back with a Bud Light beer cap, I'll give you 30 minutes of skate time.
I remember you do. You were like, it would be scavenger hunt, and you would give them like weird things to go find. I need a 9/16 bolt, or like nut, and they would literally go for blocks and come back and be like, no man, that's 1/2.
It was the place where our skate park was located was in a very, very seedy area with a lot of seedy people.
It was a produce market by day, and all of the vagrants in Fort Sanders lived in the alleys around
right.
it.
And they would get up and unload produce in the morning.
That shit was it was 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning till 1 or 2 in the afternoon. Then it was closed.
Yeah.
Well, then we opened.
And the vagrants would take their daily pay, and they would go buy some wine, some Mad Dog 2020 or something, and then they would drink that, and then they go from there. So that's a little bit about what we had going on.
What about setting when Brian got the alarm and we did a test fire to see if it worked, and we stood at the ramp house to see if we could hear it? You remember that?
No.
And it was a Cornhead special. Cornhead installed the alarm.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we did a test fire of the alarm to see if we could hear it.
We have many other stories. We'll have to come back for another episode.
And go support your local skate shop because they put up with shit like this for the past 30
Yeah.
years.
I'm glad I don't do it anymore.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Because look how bad he turned out.
I became a special ed teacher.
See? Perfect. That's Kickturn Party. We're out. See you next time.
Everybody's gonna hang out here tonight. Alright. We'll pass out in the flat. Alright. Tonight. We got nothing better to do than to take 6 runs, drink a dozen brews. Don't talk about anything else. We don't wanna know. We're dedicated to beers, smoke, and bros. Backside slasher, website grind, kickturns, garbage. We'll hang out by the peanut pool all night and every night. Then go someplace else and smoke and yell. It's Friday night. We got nothing better to do than take 6 runs, drink a dozen brews.